German forces at Kursk advanced only 10 miles in the north and 30 miles in the south before their offensive stalled. On July 12, near the village of Prokhorovka, the largest single tank engagement of the battle occurred. 1,500 tanks fighting at close range in blinding dust. The mechanical advantage of newer German Panthers and Tigers vanished in point-blank melees. Soviet numerical superiority and aggressive tactics won through. Tank riders fought through the entire Kursk operation. When Soviet forces transitioned from defense to counterattack in late July, tankodesantniki spearheaded the advance. They rode T-34s into German positions around Orel. They jumped off to clear trenches and bunkers. They suffered horrific casualties. They kept advancing. The Red Army recaptured Orel on August 5, 1943. Kharkov fell August 23. The German summer offensive had failed completely. The strategic initiative on the Eastern Front passed permanently to the Soviet Union. Tank détente tactics contributed materially to this outcome. The tactic gave Soviet commanders a tool for rapid tactical movement that German forces couldn't match. Wehrmacht doctrine had no equivalent. German Panzer Grenadiers rode in SDKFZ 251 half-tracks when they could, but the vehicles were scarce and couldn't keep pace with panzers across rough terrain. Some German units adopted tank riding by 1944 out of necessity. The practice was documented in panzer divisions operating around Weir in July 1944, where German infantry rode Panther tanks into combat. But German adoption came years after Soviet implementation and lacked the systematic training that made Red Army tankodesantniki effective. Americans also formalized tank riding doctrine in November 1944 with FM 17-40 specifying procedures for infantry companies riding Sherman tanks. The U.S. Army called it a Russian tactic. They were correct. Post-Kursk, tank détente became standard practice for Soviet offensive operations. Operation Bagration in June 1944 saw massive use of the tactic. Soviet forces destroyed German Army Group Center using deep penetrations exploited by tank infantry teams moving at armor speed. Tankodesantniki cleared defensive positions, secured bridgeheads, prevented German forces from establishing new defensive lines. The Red Army's advance from Kursk to Berlin covered over 1,200 miles in 21 months. That pace was only possible because Soviet infantry could keep up with Soviet armor. Tank détente made that possible when trucks and half-tracks weren't available. The human cost was staggering. Exact figures for tankodesantniki casualties don't exist in accessible records. But based on unit reports and defensive statistics, reasonable estimates suggest that Soviet tank riders suffered 40 to 70% casualty rates in major operations. Tens of thousands of soldiers died while riding tanks or in the immediate aftermath of dismounting. They died accomplishing missions that static infantry could not. They died maintaining operational tempo. They died so Soviet armor wouldn't fight alone. German soldiers who survived encounters with Soviet tank détente assaults described the experience as terrifying. Tanks emerging from smoke with soldiers clinging to the hull. The riders staying mounted until the last moment, firing submachine guns while still aboard. Then dropping off and assaulting at point-blank range before defenders could react. Captured German reports analyzed the tactic's effectiveness. They concluded it worked through shock and speed rather than tactical sophistication. German commanders recommended engaging approaching armor at longer ranges before tankodesantniki could deploy. But Soviet smoke screens and artillery preparation often prevented this. The Americans who fought alongside Soviet forces in the final months of the war witnessed tank détente firsthand. U.S. Army observers noted the practice in reports sent to Washington. They described it as effective but acknowledged American forces would never accept similar casualty rates. American tactical doctrine prioritized preserving combat strength. Soviet doctrine prioritized accomplishing the mission. Neither approach was wrong. They reflected different strategic realities. The United States fought an expeditionary war with limited manpower far from home. The Soviet Union fought an existential war for national survival with virtually unlimited conscription. Different contexts demanded different calculations about acceptable losses. After victory in May 1945, the Soviet Union incorporated lessons learned from tank détente into post-war armor doctrine. New tank designs included built-in handholds specifically for infantry riders. The T-55 and T-62 tanks featured these provisions. The tactic remained part of Soviet combined arms doctrine through the Cold War. Soviet forces employed tank détente extensively in Afghanistan during the 1980s. Different context, different enemy, similar problems. Infantry needed to move faster than walking pace. Armored personnel carriers were vulnerable to ambush. Soldiers chose to ride on the outside of BMPs and tanks where they could dismount quickly. The practice persisted into the 21st century. Russian forces used tank détente on a massive scale during the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Ukrainian forces also adopted the tactic. Modern warfare continues to face the same fundamental problem that confronted the Red Army in 1941. Infantry must keep pace with armor or combined arms operations fail. The legacy of World War II tankodesantniki lives in every modern infantry fighting vehicle designed with exterior grab rails, in doctrine specifying rapid dismount procedures, in training that emphasizes infantry armor coordination. The men who rode T-34s into German fire at Kursk and beyond rarely received recognition. Tank détente wasn't celebrated in propaganda because acknowledging the tactic meant acknowledging its cost. 50% casualties don't make inspiring stories. They make widows and orphans. Most tankodesantniki were conscripts, 18 to 25 years old. Many were farm workers who'd never seen a tank before the war. They learned their deadly trade in training camps behind the front lines. A few days of instruction at most. Then assignment to a tank brigade. Then combat. Their names don't appear in the histories. We know the generals who commanded them. Zhukov, Rokossovsky, Konyev. We know the tank aces who led armored spearheads. But the soldiers who clung to those tanks and jumped into German trenches with PPSH-41s blazing remain largely anonymous. What we know is what they accomplished. They maintained Soviet offensive momentum through 3 years of the most brutal warfare in human history. They protected armor from close-range anti-tank weapons. They seized objectives at speeds that kept German defenders permanently off balance. They died in numbers we can only estimate. The Finns fell back to prepared positions. Let the Soviets advance into killing zones. Then Finnish machine guns and mortars opened fire. Soviet columns stalled. Officers tried to reorganize, keep momentum. But their soldiers were dying in ways they could not understand. Men dropped. No sound of a shot. Just a soldier falling. Then another. Then another. Soviet junior officers began reporting sniper activity. Finnish marksmen. Somewhere in the trees. The reports reached division headquarters. Soviet commanders ordered counter-sniper operations. They deployed their own snipers. Trained marksmen with scoped Mosin-Nagant 91/30th rifles. The Soviet snipers moved into the forests, searched for Finnish positions. Some never returned. They had encountered Häyhä. He hunted Soviet snipers with particular focus. They were the threat. They understood fieldcraft, patience, how to read terrain. Häyhä would locate a Soviet sniper's position by watching for muzzle flash or by noting where fire originated. Then he would wait, hours, sometimes days, until the Soviet sniper made one small mistake, shifted position carelessly, moved at the wrong moment. Häyhä fired once. Soviet counter-sniper teams began to fear the Kola sector. Information from prisoners later revealed they called the area cursed. Their snipers went in, did not come out. Soviet commanders tried artillery. If they could not locate the Finnish sniper, they would destroy entire areas where he might hide. Batteries fired on tree lines, forest sections, snowfields. Häyhä would hear the shells coming, press himself into the snow, wait for the barrage to end, then resume his work. On December 21st, 1939, Soviet forces launched a major push at Kola. Fresh divisions, new tactics, Stalin's birthday offensive. They had to break through. The attack began at dawn. Limited daylight hours in late December. Maybe 4 hours of usable light. Soviet infantry advanced in waves across open ground toward Finnish positions. Häyhä was positioned 200 meters from the main Soviet axis of advance. He had been in position since before dawn, unmoving in -35-degree cold. The first Soviet wave came within range. Häyhä began firing. One shot, one soldier down. Cycle the bolt. Acquire the next target. Fire. Soviet soldiers kept coming. They could not locate where the fire originated. Brown coats against white snow made them visible at 400 meters. Häyhä fired methodically. He kept count. Every civil guard training had emphasized accurate record keeping. Confirm your kills. Account for ammunition expenditure. By mid-morning he had killed 14. The Soviet advance stalled. Officers tried to organize a flanking movement. Häyhä shifted position. 30 meters. Found new cover. Waited. The flanking element moved through the forest. They came into his sight picture. He resumed firing. By afternoon his count reached 21. His hands were numb despite gloves. The rifle bolt was almost too cold to operate. But he kept firing. Target acquisition. Sight picture. Controlled trigger press. At sunset he had fired his last round. 25 confirmed kills in one day. His comrades who witnessed the engagement verified the count. It became his single deadliest day of the war. But December 21st was not exceptional because of its lethality. It was exceptional because it demonstrated what Häyhä had become. He had transformed from a peacetime hunter into something the Soviet army had never encountered. Soviet intelligence worked to understand what was happening at Kola. Their casualties were mounting, not from mass battles, from individual marksmen. Finnish snipers were inflicting disproportionate losses. One Finnish soldier could pin down an entire company. Soviet troops refused to advance through certain sectors. Officers reported morale problems, fear of invisible death. By late December 1939, Soviet commanders had compiled reports on Finnish sniper activity. The reports noted one particular sniper operating in the Kola sector. Unusually high kill count. Operating alone. Never used traceable patterns. Soviet designation for this threat became Belaya Smrt. White Death. The name spread through Soviet units. Later research into Soviet prisoner interrogations revealed something interesting. To Soviet soldiers, the White Death was not specifically Häyhä. It referred to the severe frost, the killing cold, the Finnish winter itself. But to Finnish forces and later to history, the name became attached to Simo Häyhä, the soldier who embodied Finnish resistance. Finnish newspapers featured stories about the invisible Finnish soldier, the magic shooter, taikarampuja in Finnish. Propaganda certainly, but based on documented reality. Finnish officers kept daily tallies of confirmed sniper kills. Multiple observers verified each claim. By early January 1940, Häyhä's confirmed count exceeded 100. His superiors initially doubted the numbers. Lieutenant Colonel Anjuta Lenin ordered an official observer to accompany Häyhä. Verify his kills. The observer reported back. The numbers were accurate. Häyhä was killing 5 to 6 Soviet soldiers per day on average. In January, Häyhä's count reached 200 confirmed kills. A Swedish businessman named Eugen Johansson read newspaper accounts of Häyhä's achievements. Johansson sent a custom-made rifle as a gift. Häyhä accepted the honor but continued using his M28-30, the rifle he knew. On February 17, 1940, the Finnish government officially proclaimed Häyhä a hero of Finland. They awarded him the Kola Cross. one of the first 7 made in silver. His cross was numbered 4. Only Marshal Carl Gustav Emil Mannerheim, President Kiosti Kallio, and his division commander Colonel Antro Svensson held lower numbers. The recognition was extraordinary for a junior NCO. But the war was not over. Soviet forces had regrouped. Stalin removed incompetent commanders, appointed General Semyon Timoshenko to overall command. The Red Army studied their failures, adapted their tactics, brought in specialized winter equipment, fresh divisions with cold weather training. By late February, the Soviet offensive renewed with overwhelming force. The Finnish army was exhausted, ammunition running low, casualties mounting, no reinforcements available. The hoped-for Allied intervention never materialized. Norway and Sweden denied passage to British and French forces. Finland fought alone. On March 6, 1940, Soviet forces launched a massive assault on the Kola line. Artillery preparation lasted hours. Then waves of infantry supported by armor. Häyhä was in his position as always. Early afternoon. He was engaging Soviet soldiers when an explosive bullet struck him. The round hit his lower left jaw. The impact tore away half his face. Soldiers who found him reported his face was missing. They thought he was dead, loaded him onto a sled with other corpses. Then someone noticed his leg moving. Häyhä was alive. Barely. They rushed him to a field hospital. Doctors stabilized him. His jaw was shattered. Left cheek destroyed. Massive tissue damage. They performed emergency surgery. He fell into a coma. For 7 days he remained unconscious. On March 13, 1940, Häyhä woke. The same day, Finland and the Soviet Union signed the Moscow Peace Treaty. The Winter War was over. Finland had held for 105 days. Longer than anyone predicted. The cost was severe. Finland ceded 11% of its territory. More than 25,000 Finnish soldiers killed or missing. But Finland survived as an independent nation. Soviet losses were catastrophic. Official Soviet figures claimed 126,875 dead or missing. Modern estimates suggest the actual number exceeded 200,000. The international community watched in shock. A nation of 3.7 million had bloodied a superpower of 170 million. Soviet military performance was so poor it influenced Adolf Hitler's decision to invade the USSR in June 1941. Hitler believed the Red Army was incompetent, poorly led, incapable of effective resistance. The Winter War proved that assessment partially correct, but Hitler failed to understand the Soviet capacity to learn and adapt. Simo Häyhä's final count remained 505 confirmed sniper kills. Additionally, he claimed over 200 kills with his Suomi KP-31 submachine gun in close-range engagements. Total confirmed kills exceeded 700, all accomplished in fewer than 100 days of combat. No sniper in any major war has matched that record. Shortly after the war ended, Field Marshal Mannerheim personally promoted Häyhä from junior sergeant directly to second lieutenant, jumping an entire rank structure. Unprecedented. The promotion came on August 28, 1940. Häyhä was also nominated for the Mannerheim Cross, Finland's highest military honor, but administrative rules prevented the award. The Mannerheim Cross was not given for Winter War achievements alone. Häyhä's recovery took years. His face remained permanently disfigured. 26 surgeries reconstructed his jaw. But he regained function, learned to speak again, though his voice was never the same. His family farm had been in territory ceded to the Soviet Union. He could not return home. He relocated to Ruokolahti in southeastern Finland near the Soviet border. Started over. He worked as a farmer, bred hunting dogs, became an accomplished moose hunter. His hunting dog Kill accompanied him on 72 successful moose hunts out of 73 total. He participated in hunting parties with Finland's President Urho Kekkonen. Lived quietly, avoided publicity for decades. When journalists found him in later years, he was reluctant to discuss the war. In a 1998 interview, he was asked how he became such an accurate shot. He answered with one word: practice. In 2001, a reporter asked if he felt remorse for killing so many people. Häyhä replied that he did what he was told to do as well as he could. There would be no Finland if everyone had not done the same. He never expressed regret, never boasted, simply stated facts. Simo Häyhä died on April 1, 2002 at age 96. He was buried in Ruokolahti. His tombstone reads Home Religion Fatherland. The Kala and Simo Häyhä Museum opened in 1983 in Maedala. The museum preserves the history of the Battle of Kala and features a permanent exhibition on Häyhä's life. His M28-30 rifle serial number 60974 is displayed there. In 2004, Finland conducted a television poll to identify the 100 greatest Finns of all time. Häyhä ranked 74th. Swedish heavy metal band Sabaton released the song White Death in 2010 honoring his memory. Multiple books have documented his life, including Major Tapio Saralanen's authoritative work The White Sniper, published in Finland. Häyhä's story resonates because it captures something fundamental about the Winter War. Finland was outnumbered, expected to lose. But individual Finns like Häyhä fought with such skill and determination that they altered the strategic calculus. One farmer with a rifle, operating in conditions that would kill most soldiers, using iron sights in temperatures below -40 Fahrenheit, killing over 500 enemy soldiers in 100 days. Those numbers seem impossible, but they are verified by multiple observers, military records, Soviet intelligence reports. The explanation lies not in superhuman ability but in perfect alignment of skill, environment, and necessity. Häyhä had spent his entire life preparing for this war without knowing it. Hunting in Finnish forests, shooting in extreme cold, understanding snow, understanding patience, understanding how to become invisible. When war came, he applied those skills with methodical precision. He was not reckless, not heroic in the cinematic sense. He was professional, disciplined, effective. The Winter War taught the Soviet Union hard lessons about winter warfare. After 1940, the Red Army completely reformed its sniper training, developed cold weather doctrine, created sniper schools. When Germany invaded in 1941, Soviet snipers were waiting, trained, equipped, prepared. They had learned from Finland. Häyhä's legacy is not just his kill count. It is what his example taught about the nature of defensive warfare, about the force multiplier effect of skilled individual soldiers operating in favorable terrain, about the importance of environmental mastery. Modern militaries study the Winter War, analyze Finnish tactics, examine how small, well-trained forces can delay or defeat larger armies through superior knowledge of terrain and conditions. Häyhä embodies those lessons. The farmer who became the deadliest sniper in history, the soldier who never missed, the man who disappeared into the snow and emerged only to kill. His story belongs to Finland, a small nation that refused to surrender when the world expected collapse, that fought through the darkest winter, that produced soldiers willing to stand alone against impossible odds. Simo Häyhä did what his country asked. He did it as well as any human could. And in doing so, he became something more than a soldier. He became a symbol of resistance, a skill, of the indomitable will to survive. This was just one of countless untold stories from the Second World War. If you want to hear more forgotten chapters of history, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Drop a comment telling us which WW2 story you want to hear next.